Whoa, hey! Before you unleash the fury in the comments, I beg you, watch the whole video first. It might save us both a headache. Appreciate it. The IDW Sonic Comics have been going strong since 2018, which means... Wait, 2018? That was 7 years ago. No, that can't be right. Surely it's been like 4 years. 5 max. Oh no. Oh my god. It is 7. What is time anyway? Okay, no spiraling today. That's for after the video. Right now, it's time for something a little different. We're not diving into the law of chaos energy or analyzing Tails' trauma. Today, we're stepping into the real world. Well, sort of. And talking about something you can physically hold. Unless you're reading them digitally, in which case, please don't drop your tablet. That's something? The IDW Sonic Comics. Welcome to Tails Nexus, where I commit to background gameplay choices that make zero thematic sense, and I stand by them. Yes, that is Sonic racing through Stardust Speedway while I unpack comic book critiques. It's the perfect chaos. Now, before we get too deep, I want to make it clear, I'm not here to dunk on these comics. In fact, I really like what IDW's been doing. It's got energy, style, some fantastic new characters, and moments of genuine heart. What I am here to do is talk about what other people have taken issue with. Because while the comics have a loyal fan base, they've also stirred up some hot takes. Some of them fair, some of them questionable, and some of them so galaxy brain they loop back around to being iconic. Whether it's about pacing, repetitive arcs, or character progression that feels stuck in limbo, people have thoughts, and today we're going to explore them. I'm putting on my why is the fandom like this hat and trying to unpack the broader conversation. The good, the bad, and the why did they make Tails cry again? So, grab a snack, maybe issue 1 for some visual flair, and let's talk about the problem with the Sonic IDW comics. Even if the problem might not be with the comics themselves. And naturally, if you want to avoid spoilers for the comics, I recommend you read them before watching this video altogether, as I'll be getting into some pretty juicy topics within the comics. So, let's bring everyone up to speed, shall we? The IDW Sonic Comics are a series published by IDW Publishing, who, by the way, have done some seriously awesome work across all kinds of franchises. But let's set the record straight right away. IDW themselves don't actually make the Sonic comics. They're the publishers. The folks creating these stories, the writers, artists, and editors are the IDW creative team. A dedicated group of fans turned pros who genuinely care about the world of Sonic and want to explore it in new, interesting ways. Now, despite all that love and effort, there's one question that constantly haunts the IDW Sonic comics like a ghost in a Green Hill Zone loop. Are they canon? It's a question that's been hotly debated since the series first launched in 2018. And yes, that, again, was 7 years ago. Take a moment to scream into the void. Oh wait, heck, I might even join you. And even though Chris Hernandez and Ian Flynn, two people deeply involved in the series, have both stated the comics are canon, there's still a weird resistance to that idea. Like a strong resistance. You'd think they announced Shadow as secretly a tax accountant or something. People just can't let it go. So why all the pushback? Well, first off, there's the matter of the timeline. You see, Sonic's game canon is messy. And I mean spaghetti dinner at a trampoline park messy. Back during the early 2000s, SEGA was putting Sonic into everything. Medieval Knight? Sure. Arabian Nights? Why not? Dinosaur Planet? Go for it. Olympic Games with Mario? Absolutely. For years, it seemed like continuity was way less of a priority and more of a vague suggestion. It wasn't about building a consistent universe, it was about keeping Sonic in the spotlight no matter what. So when IDW came along and tried to craft a story that fits within that universe, fans were understandably skeptical. How can these new comic events exist when we still don't even know where Sonic Unleashed fits in this timeline, or if it even matters? That's fair, I get it. Then there's the Ian Flynn situation. Now, Ian Flynn is basically the Kevin Feige of Sonic storytelling. He's been around the block. He wrote for the Archie comics before those got shut down harder than a Metal Sonic boss fight. When he jumped over to IDW, fans were excited. But when asked about canonicity, Ian didn't exactly give a mic drop answer. Instead, he said things like,
and I have made it clear that the comics follow the lead of the games. So as long as there's no contradictions anywhere, we're good.
So when you say IDW is canon to the games now, Would you argue against that?
I would not argue against it, no.
And while those sound reassuring on the surface, they're also the kind of statements you'd give when your boss is standing just out of frame holding a large gun and whispering, "Say nothing definitive." It's not that he's hiding something, it's probably just that SEGA likes to keep things a little ambiguous. That way, they can have their canon cake and also make Sonic a werehog if the mood strikes. Still, the vagueness left a lot of fans unsure. Are the comics a soft continuation of the games? A separate timeline? A loose adaptation? The confusion opened the door for doubt, and once doubt creeps in, it takes a whole lot of Tales-style data analysis to get rid of it. But here's the kicker. There is a moment, buried in the depths of social media threads and obscure Q&A sessions, where Ian finally just says it. The comics are canon. Not canon adjacent, not canon if you squint, canon. There it is. Confirmation, right from the man himself, straight from the source, the actual horse's mouth, and not even a weird Eggman robot horse either, just the regular, unfiltered, direct kind. So yeah, as far as we know, as far as the people making it have told us, the IDW Sonic Comics are canon. Whether people want to believe it or not, that's the whole other discussion. And look, there are plenty of reasons for people to not believe it's canon. Sure, they're not great reasons, they're emotionally biased, selective, and let's be honest, kind of nitpicky, but hey, they're reasons, I guess. One of the more repeated points is that Ian Flynn himself was apparently against the idea at first, and that's true. Flynn has talked openly about his own hesitations, and that's totally fair. He's a writer, he wants clarity in storytelling, but at the end of the day, and Flynn's noted this publicly many times, SEGA has the final say. Not him, not us, not even Eggman. Then there's the whole contradictions thing. Some fans argue the comics can't be canon because of minor inconsistencies between them and the games. But these are usually tiny things, a line here, a location there, that can be easily explained away if you're not digging for gotchas. And finally, some people are thrown off by the introduction of new characters, like Tangle, Whisper, and Surge, who don't appear in the games. That's understandable to a point, but let's be real, the Sonic universe already has more characters than a Smash Bros. Trophy room. A few more isn't going to break it. If anything, they've helped out flesh out corners of the world we rarely get to see. So yeah, those are the arguments. That's the case. Not exactly airtight, but at least now we're all on the same page. Alright, on to another hot topic. The widespread belief that characters in the IDW comics are grossly misrepresented, and the main scapegoat? This guy right here, Shadow the Hedgehog. For many fans, Shadow is the biggest offender when it comes to character misinterpretation. But me? I'm gonna throw a wrench in that theory. Here's my bold take. Shadow's betrayal during the Metal Virus arc actually works. It makes sense within the story. Now, if you're already gearing up to type out a furious reply, hold your horses! I'm not saying you're wrong to feel differently. In fact, this is a perfect spark for debate, and I genuinely love to hear your counterpoints. But before you jump into the comment section with pitchforks, hear me out fully. Give me a chance to explain. So why do people think the characters are misrepresented? Let's do a quick fire round of some common complaints before diving into the biggest gripe. And guess what? These complaints are all tied specifically to one arc, the Metal Virus arc. Yes, that's the one everyone loves to rag on. First up, Tails. Fans were honestly kind of bummed that Tails got relegated to the classic lab research guy role during this arc. While Tango, Whisper, Amy, and Silver were out there heroically saving lives and evacuating civilians, Tails was stuck sitting in a chair, crunching numbers and fiddling with tech. The writers basically said, "Tails, you will be in this room and you will like it." Ouch. But hold on, we all know Tails isn't just some helpless sidekick. Sonic Adventure already proved he's capable of saving hundreds of lives with his bravery and smarts. The catch? Researching a cure for a viral outbreak? That's exactly what he would do. It's classic Tails. And here's the kicker. Finding and developing a cure actually saves way more lives than running around evacuating people. Think about it. There are way more infected than healthy. So turning the infected back into healthy people? That's a game changer. Now, let's zero in on Sonic, because oh boy, he gets dragged through the mud by a lot of fans. They call him a hypocrite. saying he preaches freedom and breaking rules, but then somehow he's following rules all the time in the comics. Yeah, sounds like a weird contradiction on the surface, right? Like, what gives? But here's the truth bomb. Sonic's not following their rules, he's following his own rules. Think about it. Saying I don't follow the rules doesn't mean I do whatever I want. Consequences be damned. It means Sonic rejects the rules society or some authority tries to impose on him because those rules conflict with his core values. Sonic's rules are rooted in freedom, not chaos, freedom. He lives by a code that says people deserve to be free to choose their own paths, and I won't stand by when someone tries to take that away. He's the ultimate rebel with a cause, not just a wild kid with no respect for order. And that's crucial to understanding why the comics portray him the way they do. Sonic isn't breaking rules just to be rebellious. He's pushing back against rules that limit freedom or hurt others. Sure, he might act by his own moral compass, but that's what being a hero is all about. He holds himself to his standards, and those standards prioritize protecting people's freedom and dignity. That's why he won't tolerate oppression or injustice, even if it means bending some societal rules. And here's the irony. If Sonic really did toss aside all rules and morals like some reckless punk, he'd actually be a hypocrite worse than what critics claim, because freedom without responsibility or respect becomes chaos, and chaos hurts people. Sonic's whole deal is freedom with responsibility, which is a way more complex, nuanced stance than the rule breaker label fans often slap on him. And hey, we gotta cut the games some slack here. The games are designed for younger audiences and focuses on Sonic's cool attitude side. The flashy speedster who's fun and sassy, not necessarily the deep philosophical hero fighting for peace and freedom. The comics get to dive into that deeper side of Sonic. And yeah, sometimes it makes him look like a different character, but it's still Sonic, just a more grown-up, thoughtful Sonic. So yeah, calling him a hypocrite? Nah, that's just oversimplifying a really rich character who's all about standing up for freedom, his way. And now for Mr. Big Shot himself, Shadow the Hedgehog. Let's not sugarcoat this. When Shadow rolled up and pulled that flashy "step aside, I've got this" stunt in the Metal Virus arc, fans lost it. People called it reckless. People called it out of character. "This isn't my Shadow!" was the cry echoing across the internet like some dramatic soap opera moment. But here's the thing. I actually get where those fans are coming from. I see the frustration, I really do, but I don't think those fans are seeing it from where Shadow's standing. And that, my friends, is the real kicker. Shadow isn't just some edgy rival with a cool coat and a tragic backstory. He's the ultimate life form. He says it, he knows it, we know it, but we've heard it so often we've stopped thinking about what that actually means. He was literally engineered to be the pinnacle of existence, stronger, faster, smarter, and yes, immune to disease. This isn't just some ego trip, it's built into his DNA. That's not bravado, that's science. So when a world-ending virus starts tearing through Mobius like wildfire, Shadow walks in thinking, okay, here's my moment. I'm the ace in the hole. I'm built for this. I can stop what no one else can. He wasn't being arrogant for no reason. He genuinely believed, with solid logic backing it, that he was immune. This wasn't recklessness, it was confidence born from design. And then he wasn't immune. And you know that moment hit him like a truck, because now it's not just he's infected, it's that his very identity was challenged. He believed, down to his core, that he was above this. And when that belief cracked, it wasn't just a physical loss, it was an existential one. Shadow thought he was the trump card, and when that turned out to be false, the whole house of cards fell down around him. And honestly, I will die on this hill. Shadow, he should have been immune. Like, objectively, lore-wise, genetically, thematically, every T crossed and I dotted. General Robotnik didn't build a weapon of perfection that can be taken down by a glorified cold. People say, well, the Metal Virus only affected organics and Shadow's organic. Okay, sure, but... brother, what virus doesn't affect organic things? That's the whole point of a virus. It needs organic hosts to survive. That's like saying this fire only burns things that are flammable. Like, yeah, that's just fire, mate. Shadow was designed to be immune to disease. All spell disease, not just the ones we already knew about, the concept of disease. You can throw the plague, smallpox, rabies, and a 200% concentrated strain of the common cold at him, and he'd walk it off without sneezing. But this one virus is the exception. A virus that, I might add, was made, manufactured, not some naturally occurring anomaly, and he gets infected like some B-grade side character? Come on! Now let me be very clear. This is not a point against Shadow's characterization. His choices, his confidence, his smug take charge attitude, all of that is peak Shadow. I will defend that to the end of the earth. But the fact that it failed, the fact that he failed, despite everything he is, that's where I throw my hands up and say, okay, IDW, you dropped the ball. So no, Shadow wasn't out of character. He was painfully in character. And that's why the moment stings, because it should have worked, but it didn't. And that's not on Shadow, that's on the writers. And that's what makes this moment so divisive. Not because Shadow was wrong, but because everyone else was. All right, cards on the table. This is the one point I really can't fight back on. The idea that the IDW comics are too safe? Yeah, fair cop. But let's get specific here. Because it's not that they're playing it safe in the wrong ways, it's that they're tying everything up too neatly. Like, imagine a roller coaster that takes off strong, does a few loops, and then just gently coasts to the finish line. No sharp turn, no final drop, just vibes. And not the good kind. See, the issue isn't the characters, it's pace and tension. When a mystery is introduced, we want to sit with it, let it simmer, let us overthink and theorize and fight in the group chats like unhinged lore gremlins. But instead, the comics go, oh, you want to know who's behind this? Then bam! The curtain lifts like one issue later. It was Mimic! Like, bro, give me time to wonder who it could be. Let me feel paranoid. Make us question everybody until the reveal hits like a punch to the gut. And don't even get me started on the Sonic and Tails cave moment that had genuine we're in trouble energy. Trapped, cut off, no escape, limited resources, and we're thinking, oh no, this could get dark. But then, boom, we're out by next week. Clean, safe, handled. Where's the desperation? Where's the crawling through the mud? The tense standoffs, the risk of them actually failing? And look, rough and tumble, love him. Delightfully dumb, great comic relief. But IDW dropped them in issue 3 like they were setting up a big deal, and then they just sort of were there, holding a town hostage. Sure, but this is post-Forces. These townsfolk here were out swinging against Infinite Metal Sonics and Chaos Zero Illusions. You're telling me these two skunk clowns show up and everyone just drops their pitchforks and says, oh no! No, I would have loved to see the town rise up, steal back their gear, show us that post-Forces grit, that residual resistance fire, because that's what it all comes back to. Tension and stakes. There's a difference between writing a kid-friendly comic and writing a story where nothing feels like it matters. The Metal Virus arc? That slapped. Neo Metal? Top-tier villainy. Phantom Rider? Very cool. These arcs prove IDW can go big and bold. They've got the ingredients. They just forget to let the sauce cook long enough. And now, we're in the Misadventures arc. And I mean, the name kinda says it all, doesn't it? It's not a grand tale, it's not a saga, it's just Sonic and friends bouncing from side quest to side quest like they're clearing a filler episode checklist. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to bash it. Some of those misadventures are fun. They've got charm, heart, some really nice moments. But for a fandom as lore-hungry and drama-thirsty as ours, that's not enough. We want arcs that scar us, questions that haunt us, villains who linger. We don't want neat, we don't want safe. We want messy, raw, unresolved tension that keeps us staring at the ceiling at 2 AM thinking, wait, what if Whisper's not okay? So yeah, the comics being too safe, can't argue with you there. But man, the potential, it's right there! If they just leaned in, took the training wheels off, and trusted the audience to ride with them into the deep end, IDW would be unstoppable. Now look, I know what you're thinking. Oh great, here comes the capitalism bad rant, time to tune out, right? Wrong! This section's not gonna be boring, it's not gonna be preachy, and it's definitely not gonna be some generic soapbox moment about big company scary. This is about why our silly little blue hedgehog comic can't go as hard as we want it to. And the truth is, corporatism has entered the chat. See, when we pick up an IDW Sonic comic, or boot up the latest game, we want to escape. We want to zoom through loops, dive into lore, and live in a world where friendship wins and the power of teamwork makes literal explosions happen. But here's the cold reality. Corporatism doesn't stop at the real world's doorstep. It drags itself into the pages, sets up shops, and hangs a sign that says, approved by SEGA. Now this ties right back to the previous safe section, because yeah, the comics play it safe. But the reason? The leash isn't in Ian Flynn's hands. And don't get me wrong, Ian Flynn is a fantastic writer. The man lives and breathes this world. But SEGA? SEGA is the parent hovering over the shoulder going, actually, you can't do that. Actually, Sonic wouldn't cry. Actually, we don't want to show trauma or character progression unless it resets in 20 pages. SEGA's not writing the story, but they are holding the pen. Okay, let's make this easier to understand. Gamer to gamer, you ever heard of the SCP Foundation? If not, you're either under a rock or I'm terrifyingly old and need to schedule my retirement from the internet. But for the unfamiliar, the SCP Foundation is an online fictional universe where weird, creepy, cursed anomalies are stored away under lock and key by a shady secret organization. And those anomalies, they've got to be contained before they destroy the world. Now, imagine this. SCP-IDW is the anomaly. Ian Flynn is the lead researcher. He's poking at it, learning what makes it tick, finding how far it can go before it breaks loose. He's writing the log, studying its story potential, giving it depth, experimenting with tone, risk, character dynamics, and you know who we are? We're the Class D personnel, the test audience, thrown in to see what SCP-IDW does when pushed to its limits. And sometimes that story gets wild. It mutates, it evolves, it reaches real stakes. But before it gets too juicy, SEGA swoops in, the O5 Council, the all-seeing, all-controlling overlords. They read the report, scratch their chin and go, interesting, now delete this, and this part, oh, and definitely this, and for the love of chaos, don't let Sonic cry on panel. And then they stamp it with a redacted logo and send it out sanitized, declawed, and polished for mass appeal. And that is the crux of it. That's why the IDW Sonic comics, as good as they can be, feel just a little caged. They're not bad, they're not even mid, but they could be legendary. And it's not because of the writers, or the fans, or the medium, it's because a corporation is gripping the wheel and it's not letting the car drift. We could be living in a world where Sonic loses, where Tails doubts himself, where Shadow confronts his failures and doesn't get over it in 2 panels. We could be seeing arcs that leave bruises, but instead we get regulation, restriction, and a little please the brand team checklist hanging above every story beat. Because the brand, the merchandise, that's the real star of the show, and this all bleeds directly into Sonic's idealism. Because in the IDW comics, Sonic isn't just optimistic, he isn't just heroic, he's practically divine. Like, this guy can do no wrong. He always has the moral high ground, always knows the right thing to say, always forgives, even when the reader definitely wouldn't. Sonic won't kill, won't maim, won't even put a serious dent in the skull of Starline or clutch the oily crime weasel. He's all about second chances, even for people who absolutely don't deserve them. And don't get me wrong, I like this version of Sonic. I really do. This is the Sonic I always imagined as a kid. The cool older brother who always knew exactly what to do. But in IDW, it's just so obnoxiously intoxicating. Like, every time I open a panel with Sonic, I'm met with a choking cloud of self-righteousness. He's not just a hero, he's... And the worst part is, he rarely gets challenged on it. No one's allowed to say, hey, maybe that war criminal walk free again was the wrong call, Blue, without Sonic giving a short speech as to why he did it, and then it's never talked about again. Why? Because that would mean Sonic was wrong, and in Sega's rulebook, Sonic can never be wrong. Not even a little bit, not even in a maybe this isn't the best move kind of way. So yeah, that's where the corporatism meets the idealism. The stories can't grow teeth, the characters can't bleed, the stakes can't bite, because if they did, we got a Sonic who made a bad call and had to live with it. Oh no, and that might affect the brand perception. And that, my friends, is one more thing dangerous than any villain in Sonic's Road Gallery. Alright, let's be real. During the Misadventures arc, it kind of felt like only a handful of characters were getting any real love. Like, yeah, Tangle's fun, yeah, Whisper's cool, Mimic's great, Surge is spicy, but where's Blaze? Where's Espio? Where is Knuckles? Seriously, blink and you'll miss him. There's definitely been a pattern during this arc. New characters get the spotlight, side missions take center stage, and meanwhile, the mainline cast, the heavy hitters like Blaze, Silver, and Knuckles, get pushed to the background or barely appear at all. But here's the thing, I don't think this is some egregious, unforgivable sin. I think it's just a symptom of where the comic's at. The Misadventures arc is exactly what it sounds like. A transitional side story heavy period after several big heavy arcs. It's meant to breathe a little, reset the tone, and tie off some smaller threads before we launch back into the big stuff. And yeah, it's definitely a bit frustrating to not see characters like Knuckles or Blaze get much of anything during this time, but we've also got to understand that the comic isn't done yet. They're still wrapping up previous plot lines and setting up future ones. Tails is already confirmed to have a major arc coming, and if that goes well, I imagine the others aren't too far behind. So while the character distribution feels a little off balance, it's not necessarily a permanent problem. It's just part of the pacing. Give it a bit of time, let the arc close out, and then let's see who gets to take the stage next. So yeah, this video is a bit longer than usual, but hey, we had a lot to talk about, didn't we? Let's do a quick recap before we blast out of here. The comics are canon, even if the timeline's a bit spaghetti-shaped. Character misrepresentation? Overblown. Maybe a few hiccups here and there, but nothing worth flipping a table over. The too safe argument? Valid, but the real villain here isn't Ian Flynn. It's the corporate overlords at SEGA making sure Sonic stays family-friendly and doesn't start body-checking people into the stratosphere. Character overuse/underuse? Totally a thing. Doing the Misadventures arc. But that's just where we're at right now. The big moments, they're coming. And look, if you still don't like the comics, that's okay, you don't have to. But hopefully now you can see why some of us do like them, and why there's still so much potential waiting to be tapped into. So, until we see Knuckles do literally anything again, until Starline somehow returns from the grave with an even dumber haircut, until SEGA lets Sonic throw a single punch that actually lands, this has been Tails Nexus. And as always, keep flying high.